The power of mastery lies in understanding that real growth often begins when we choose to narrow our focus instead of expanding it. In a world that constantly pressures us to chase more goals, more skills, more achievements, we often forget that true excellence is born from depth, not breadth. Mastery requires patience, repetition, and the willingness to slow down long enough to truly understand what we are doing. When we try to do everything at once, we end up spreading ourselves thin, missing the opportunity to build solid foundations that can support greater success later. Mastering less is not about limiting potential, but about strengthening it. It means giving your full attention to the few things that matter most so you can perform them with clarity and purpose. People often mistake being busy for being productive, but the two are very different. Busyness is scattered, productivity is focused. Mastery happens when we shift from chasing constant activity to committing deeply to meaningful progress. When you choose one skill, one mission, or one goal and dedicate yourself to improving it daily, you build competence and confidence. This focused effort sharpens your abilities, allowing you to stand out in a world full of distractions and half-finished pursuits. You begin to see nuances, patterns, and opportunities that others overlook because you've invested the time to truly understand your craft. This is the kind of growth that creates long-term impact. The journey toward mastery also teaches discipline and humility. It requires acknowledging that you are not yet where you want to be and being willing to put in the work to get there. It forces you to face frustration, repetition, and slow progress. But through that process, you develop resilience. Mastery demands consistency, not intensity. It's the small daily actions, the willingness to practice even when motivation fades, that accumulate into expertise. When you master one thing, it becomes a foundation upon which you can build other skills more easily. Without that foundation, every new pursuit becomes unstable, lacking direction and depth. Choosing to master less also frees you from the constant comparison that comes from trying to keep up with everyone else. When you focus on your own craft, your own pace, and your own progress, you reclaim control over your growth. You stop chasing trends, distractions, and external validation, and start building something meaningful from the inside out. This shift transforms your mindset from seeking quantity to pursuing quality. Instead of asking, "What else can I add?" you begin to ask, "How can I make what I already have better?" Ultimately, the power of mastery is the power of intentionality. It is the choice to commit deeply rather than scatter your energy widely. When you master less, you create space for excellence to grow. You develop skills that carry real value, build character that lasts, and unlock opportunities that only come to those who dare to go deeper instead of wider. In mastering less, you discover that more naturally follows not because you chased it, but because you earned it. Focus over frenzy is a principle that reminds us that progress does not come from doing more, but from doing what matters with full intention. In today's world, it is easy to fall into the trap of constant activity, chasing multiple goals, multitasking through the day, and believing that the faster we move, the more successful we become. But frenzy is deceptive. It gives the illusion of productivity while quietly draining our energy, scattering our attention, and diluting our potential. True advancement begins when we stop trying to be everywhere at once and instead commit ourselves to a clear direction. Building depth before expansion means choosing to pour your effort into the few things that truly align with your purpose, rather than spreading yourself thin across countless distractions. When you focus, your mind works with sharper clarity. You begin to understand the root of what you are pursuing, not just its surface. This enables you to refine your skills and make better decisions because your thoughts are no longer clouded by competing priorities. Instead of rushing through tasks just to check boxes, you invest your time in meaningful growth. Frenzy may bring short-term movement, but focus brings long-term mastery. And mastery is what ultimately separates meaningful achievement from mere busyness. Giving your full attention to one goal at a time creates momentum, a steady, powerful force that builds strength with every deliberate step you take. Building depth also teaches discipline. It requires you to slow down, prioritize, and stay committed even when distractions tempt you to shift your attention elsewhere. This discipline isn't about limiting your ambition, it's about protecting it. When you try to pursue too many things at once, you risk diluting your effort to the point where nothing grows. But when you concentrate on one central mission, you create space for measurable progress. You learn to appreciate the process rather than chase constant stimulation. You recognize that real achievement is not defined by how many things you start, but by how many things you finish with excellence. Focus over frenzy also brings a sense of peace and direction. When your energy is scattered, your thoughts become restless, and your purpose gets lost in the noise. But when your energy is focused, your mind becomes calm, your path becomes clearer, and your actions become more intentional. This clarity allows you to work smarter instead of harder. You begin to use your time more effectively, make decisions with confidence, and approach challenges with a grounded mindset. In this state, even difficult tasks become manageable because they have a single, meaningful purpose guiding them. Ultimately, choosing focus over frenzy is choosing depth over distraction. It is choosing lasting achievement over momentary activity. It is recognizing that expanding your life begins with strengthening your foundation. When you build depth before expansion, you equip yourself with the skills, discipline, and clarity needed to pursue bigger goals without losing your balance. In a world that celebrates speed, choosing focus is an act of strength. It is the quiet, steady commitment to becoming exceptional at what truly matters, rather than being overwhelmed by everything that does not. The discipline of doing one thing exceptionally well is a powerful force that shapes not only what you achieve, but who you become in the process. In a world where people constantly jump from one task to another, trying to gather as many skills and accomplishments as possible, mastery stands out as something rare and valuable. The ability to commit yourself fully to one pursuit and elevate it to excellence demands patience, resilience, and a deep respect for the learning process. It means resisting the temptation to chase shortcuts or instant results, and instead embracing the slow, sometimes frustrating journey of genuine improvement. When you choose to focus on doing one thing exceptionally well, you create a foundation of strength and competence that carries forward into every part of your life. To do one thing exceptionally well, you must first let go of the idea that progress should always be fast or exciting. True mastery often involves quiet repetition and consistent practice, doing the same action again and again until it becomes second nature. This repetition is not a sign of stagnation. It is a sign of refinement. Each time you repeat a skill, you learn something new, even if the change is so subtle you can barely notice it. Over time, these tiny improvements compound, creating a transformation that feels almost effortless, but is rooted in hours of deliberate dedication. This is the kind of growth that cannot be rushed. It demands that you show up on days when you feel motivated, and more importantly, on days when you don't. Another essential part of doing something exceptionally well is learning to embrace failure. When you dedicate yourself to mastering a single craft or goal, mistakes are inevitable. They are not a sign that you are on the wrong path. They are proof that you are pushing your limits. Every misstep gives you information that helps you do better next time. This mindset shifts failure from something to fear into something to learn from. By approaching challenges with curiosity rather than frustration, you create an environment where growth becomes natural. The discipline to consistently improve, even when progress feels slow, strengthens your character just as much as it strengthens your abilities. The commitment to doing one thing exceptionally well also teaches you the importance of intentional effort. Instead of scattering your attention across many different tasks, you bring your full mental, emotional, and physical energy into a single direction. This deep focus allows you to produce work of higher quality because you are fully present in what you're doing. You notice details others overlook. You refine steps other people rush through. You build confidence from knowing that every minute you spend is an investment in excellence rather than a reaction to distraction. Ultimately, the discipline of doing one thing exceptionally well is an act of self-respect. It is the decision to honor your potential by giving it the time and attention it deserves. It is choosing substance over speed, depth over superficial effort, and long-term fulfillment over temporary excitement. When you dedicate yourself to becoming truly exceptional at something, you unlock doors that remain closed to those who try to master everything at once. Excellence creates opportunities, builds trust, and sets you apart in ways that scattered effort never can. And in mastering that one thing, you often discover your own capacity for greatness. Stop the Chase is a reminder that constantly running after more success, more recognition, more goals, can pull you away from the deeper meaning behind your actions. When people rush from one ambition to the next without pausing to understand why they are chasing it, they end up exhausted, frustrated, and disconnected from their true purpose. Aligning purpose with practice begins with stepping back and asking yourself what truly matters, what drives you, and what kind of impact you want your actions to have. Without this alignment, even impressive achievements can feel empty because they are not anchored in a sense of meaning. The world often glorifies speed, pushing you to move faster and accomplish more, but purpose asks you to slow down, reflect, and move with intention instead of urgency. When you stop chasing and start aligning, your life takes on a different quality. You no longer act out of fear of missing out or pressure to keep up with others. Instead, you act from a place of clarity, choosing paths that match who you are and who you want to become. This alignment brings a kind of inner peace that chasing can never provide. It gives you direction, helping you make decisions that support your growth rather than distract from it. When your purpose becomes your guide, your efforts feel less like a frantic race and more like a meaningful journey. You become more patient, more grounded, and more confident in your choices because they come from a place of authenticity rather than comparison. Chasing often stems from a belief that happiness or fulfillment is somewhere in the future, achieved only after reaching the next milestone. This mindset keeps you constantly moving, but never fully satisfied. Purpose challenges this belief by reminding you that fulfillment comes from progress made with intention, not from accumulating accomplishments for the sake of appearance. When your actions reflect your purpose, even small steps feel significant. You begin to appreciate the process rather than fixating on the outcome. You recognize that meaningful growth is not about how fast you advance, but about how aligned you are with your inner values as you move forward. Aligning purpose with practice also requires honesty. It means acknowledging when you are pursuing something for the wrong reasons, seeking approval, chasing status, or trying to fill a void that no achievement can truly fill. This honesty can be uncomfortable because it forces you to confront the gap between who you are and who you want to be. But it is in facing this truth that you gain the power to change your direction. You learn to let go of goals that no longer serve you and replace them with goals that reflect your true aspirations. This shift frees you from the pressure of external expectations and guides you toward a path that feels both challenging and fulfilling. Once your purpose becomes clear, your practice naturally transforms. You begin to work with more focus because you know why your effort matters. You show up consistently because your actions reflect your identity. You develop resilience because your purpose gives you something meaningful to stand on when challenges arise. Work becomes more than a task. It becomes an expression of who you are. And that connection between purpose and practice fuels your motivation in a way that external rewards never can. It becomes easier to maintain discipline, to stay committed during setbacks, and to push through the inevitable difficulties that accompany any worthwhile pursuit. Another powerful shift occurs when you align your purpose with your actions. You gain clarity about what truly deserves your time. Chasing often leads to overcommitment. You say yes to too many things, spread yourself thin, and end up overwhelmed. But when your purpose is clear, your priorities become obvious. You learn to say no without guilt, to protect your energy, and to invest it only where it creates meaning. This selective focus strengthens your impact because your efforts are no longer diluted. You become more effective, more thoughtful, and more intentional in everything you do. Ultimately, stopping the chase and aligning purpose with practice is about reclaiming control over your life. It is about shifting from reaction to intention, from pressure to clarity, from restlessness to fulfillment. When you stop running without direction and start moving with purpose, you discover a deeper sense of satisfaction, one that does not depend on speed, comparison, or constant achievement. It comes from knowing that every action you take is rooted in meaning. You begin to live not just to accomplish, but to grow, contribute, and express your true self. And in that space, you find that the most powerful form of success is the one that aligns with your identity, your values, and your purpose. Mindshift is the quiet but transformative shift that happens when you choose to simplify your path so you can amplify your impact. In a world where complexity often masquerades as progress, many people find themselves overwhelmed, burdened by too many tasks, too many expectations, and too many directions pulling them apart. The mind becomes cluttered, and clarity becomes rare. But when you take a step back and consciously simplify, removing what is unnecessary, eliminating what drains your energy, and focusing on what truly matters, you create space for your potential to grow. Mindshift is not just about thinking differently. It is about seeing differently. It is the realization that simplicity does not limit achievement, but strengthens it. When the mind is scattered, even the smallest challenges feel overwhelming. But when the mind is clear, even the biggest obstacles can be approached with confidence. This clarity begins with understanding that not everything deserves your attention. Many people waste energy on tasks and goals that do little to move them closer to their purpose. They chase more because the world makes more seem like the measure of success, but this pursuit often leads to burnout and dissatisfaction. The real shift happens when you stop asking, "What else should I do?" and start asking what truly matters, this question reorients your thinking. It forces you to evaluate your priorities, habits, and ambitions. It opens the door to intentional living, where your actions become aligned with your values rather than driven by external pressure. Simplifying your path also enhances your creativity and effectiveness. When you are no longer juggling unnecessary distractions, your mind gains the freedom to explore ideas, refine skills, and pursue meaningful goals with deeper focus. Creativity thrives in clarity, not chaos. Impact is built in concentration, not confusion. By reducing noise, physical, mental, and emotional, you create room for inspiration and insight to surface. This change in thinking doesn't happen overnight. It grows through conscious choices. Each decision to focus, to simplify, to prioritize, contributes to a stronger, more empowered mindset. Over time, simplicity becomes a form of strength. Another powerful aspect of Mindshift is learning to trust the process rather than rushing it. Many people chase results so aggressively that they lose sight of the journey. They become impatient, trying to force progress instead of allowing it to unfold naturally. But meaningful growth is rarely immediate. It requires patience, consistency, and the willingness to stay committed even when progress seems slow. When you shift your mindset to value long-term growth over instant gratification, you stop worrying about how fast you are moving and start focusing on how deeply you are growing. This shift brings peace. It reminds you that every step, even the small, imperfect ones, moves you closer to mastery. Mindshift also involves letting go of limiting beliefs. Often, people hold on to the idea that success must be complicated, that the harder they work in every direction, the more they will achieve. But this belief creates unnecessary stress and robs life of joy. When you challenge these assumptions and replace them with empowering beliefs, that focus is more powerful than frenzy, that depth creates more value than speed, that intention matters more than volume, you begin to operate from a place of confidence instead of fear. Your mindset becomes your ally, not your enemy. You begin to trust your ability to grow, to choose, and to change. This internal shift reflects in your external actions. Simplifying your path also influences how you handle challenges. With a cluttered mind, challenges feel chaotic and confusing. With a clear mind, challenges become opportunities to apply your purpose and resilience. Instead of reacting emotionally or impulsively, you respond with intention. You evaluate situations more calmly, make better decisions, and maintain stability even in stressful moments. This emotional clarity enhances your relationships, your work, and your sense of control. The mind shift towards simplicity strengthens not just what you do, but how you carry yourself through life. Ultimately, mind shift is about creating a life that feels meaningful, grounded, and aligned with who you are. It is the shift from seeking more to becoming more. It is the transition from noise to clarity, from overwhelm to focus. When you simplify your path, you amplify your impact because your energy is no longer divided. You pour your effort into what matters most, and that consistency compounds into excellence. You begin to see progress not as a frantic chase, but as a steady expression of your purpose. Through this shift, you discover that true power is not found in doing everything. It is found in doing the right things with conviction and clarity.